On the hot seat today, we've got Singapore-based neo-banking platform Stashfin that raised $270 million in a Series C equity and debt round, led by global investors, including uncorrelated ventures for Sanara Capital and Abstract Ventures. Existing investors, Altaria Ventures, Travis Investment Partners, and Snow Leopard also participated in the round. Now, Stashfin will use the funds to expand its footprint in Southeast Asia and upgrade its technology for new products. Joining me now are the founder and CEO of Stashfin, Tushar Aggarwal, and Francesco Filia, the co-founder and CEO of Sanara Capital. Also joining me is my colleague Arundhati. Gentlemen, welcome to Startup Street. Let me start with you, Tushar. You know, before we get to the fundraise, you must have heard, I was just speaking to Capital Float about RBI's new guidelines for prepaid payment instruments. Firstly, what do you make of the circular? Does it affect you? And what kind of impact do you see on the sector in the short and the long term?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. Really do appreciate it. Look, I think the regulation is in the right direction. I think we always believe that lending is a regulated space. It has to be led by regulated entities like NBFCs and banks. And we think that the new regulations are making it very clear that the people who are lending money to consumers need to be regulated. And the second aspect of this is that I think for the last couple of years, it was also becoming unclear if people are taking credit or not. I think this puts the transparency and the power right in the hand of the consumer, which really should be the case.
Okay, all right. Moving on to the fresh funds that have been raised, the new round values Stashfin between $700 and $800 million, if you could confirm this. And also, you know, I believe you plan to launch new products and use funds for expansion. If you could take us through the new offerings and the markets that you're eyeing.
Sure. Look, valuation is just a number. It's a start of a long journey for us. So we really do appreciate the support of our investors, our colleagues, and also all our customers who allowed us to get us to stage. We do have some exciting offerings coming this year. We are going to do something in the insurance space, especially in the health insurance space. We also have an affinity segment, the Indian Army, and we also launched a women's card just about a short while ago. So we plan to build upon these three segments the next couple of months.
All right, so you outlined what you want to build there. Hi, Francesco, Arundhati here. Now, digital retail lending in India is growing fast, and there are many players in the neo-banking space in India. So what makes you bullish on Stashfin and the potential it has in these challenging market conditions?
Thank you for having me here. We like the Stashfin after a very deep market analysis. Sanara is fully focused on the fintech space, and we are an incubator of several platforms globally. So we think we are very good at picking up champions in the asset class in which we are involved, and we can support them by providing facilities into the hundreds of millions as they grow over time. What we like of Stashfin starts with Tushar, with his knowledge. He comes from a Wall Street background. He knows what it takes to please the shareholders, stakeholders, investors, and the consumers. And then moving on into the tech stack, which we thought was very robust, there and underwriting skills, which are very essential if you are running a lending business. And overall, we think we are being led into the market, a very important and interesting Indian market by the right champion that our organization team has selected after years of analysis of players on the ground.
All right, so lots of factors there on why you're betting on the company. But Tushar, let me come to you. You've seen 10x growth in your monthly business since the last 1 year. So what led to this bullish growth, and what are the future growth targets that you've set for yourself?
Look, I think a lot of it is based on the building blocks you're building for the last couple of years. So it took us almost about 3 years to build an entirely proprietary tech stack, which allows us to scale very rapidly, also allows us to do loans profitably. So I think the last year or so has really been a sort of inflection point based on the investments we had made in the business for the previous 3 years.
Okay, all right. Coming to you, Francesco, you know, how do you view the neo-banking space in India? Do you see India creating a model for global and emerging fintech players to adopt?
Yes, I do. We have always had a very strong interest into the Indian tech ecosystem. We've been working on it for several years. I mean, our firm is 11 years old, and we have invested into the space in excess of 30 billion of cumulative volumes over the period. So we are very proficient and knowledgeable about fintech, and India has always been a very top strategic priority for Fasanara. And the reason for that, obviously, is that it's a very data-rich environment. The digitization went, made great leaps in India. We have a strong data stack. You can do a lot of auditing and forensic with third parties before you do your underwriting and lending. And so it's just about selecting the right teams, but we think that what is being built over there can also be exported elsewhere. And as a consumer of fintech for several years, I can say really that India is one of those markets that you cannot miss if you want to have a global footprint in fintech lending.
Absolutely. Tushar, if I can come to you, Stashfin recently launched Live Boundless, as you mentioned earlier, a credit line card for women that aims to give women greater financial freedom. So how has that worked out so far? What's the kind of traction it has generated for you?
Look, it's consistent with our approach of identifying the underserved segment of society. So we have, like I said earlier, a 50 segment, the Indian Army. We launched a credit line card for women a short while ago. This is to provide women financial freedom and also ease. So far, we've had a great response. We've had a great response from our partners and our customers. I think we've had over 10,000 women startup catch up on the card. We also have had some pretty good response from our partners who've launched the card with us. So early days, but so far the response has been pretty awesome.
Okay, Tushar, there are a lot of players in the neo-banking space. What sets you apart? If you could take us through your offerings and, how do you distinguish yourself from competition?
Look, I think the lending market is really large.
Yes.
So there's no one size fits all or perhaps winners take all in the market. But the area which we are focused on is the underserved segment society, which we do believe banks and NBFCs have a hard time servicing, largely because the cost of servicing is very high. So we are focusing on the middle income consumers who typically are starting on their first few jobs or are in areas of which are inaccessible to typical banks and NBFCs. That, I think, sets us apart. Also, because of a proprietary tech stack, our cost of servicing this segment is very, very low. Therefore, we can make out small ticket size loans profitably and expand the credit offerings in India.
Okay, and what are the kind of NPAs you're seeing, Tushar?
So in line with our modeling, we typically model about 2 to 3% gross NPAs. And so far, we've been below our own internal targets.
Okay. And, if you could take us through the future targets, the future growth plans, revenue targets or expansion plans, like you said, Southeast Asia, if you could also share some timelines with us.
Yeah, sure. Look, so we currently at about 100 million ARR business. We likely get to about 400 million by the end of the year, the next 12 months forward. We have been profitable. We're looking to have earnings, pre-tax earnings of close to about $100 million in the next 12 months. So pretty exciting year for us and a lot of work to get done.